So we have a couple official Blizzard interviews where Blizzard not only confirms their interest in revamping older zones, but they outright state that they're planning changes to Forsaken lands and that some Forsaken characters will be returning in Midnight. Sylvanas just came out with a new questline, essentially retconning the shadowlands, confirming that they're not a real afterlife, and then she leaves the conversation open-ended, as in she plans to return to the world of the living. Undercity has been set up for a revamp and a big change for a few years now, and while we don't expect that Undercity will receive the Silvermoon treatment, some changes to the city are very possible, as well as changes to Tirisfal glades and the surrounding areas. So what is everything we currently know, and which Forsaken characters are returning, and what Forsaken lands will be revamped? Playing WoW on your phone is possible, and today I've got a super limited time offer, meaning first 100 users that use this code that you can see on the screen will get a 7-day membership with Awesome. Super simple to use, just download it with my link on PC and phone and just connect them. With the new update, there is now 4K and 8K support, desktop loading in less than a second, and you can customize your gamepad to check in on your characters anywhere when games sound. You can also transfer files, open apps to the remote device, and use your device as a second screen. Best of all, it's so optimized now that it works even on weak networks. So check out the link in the description and use the new highly optimized and updated version of Awesome to play WoW on your phone, amongst other things. So revamps are definitely happening in this expansion, and I've talked about how the Plague Lands had an unexpected part of the story to it, but now that we have the alpha and the PTR, it does appear that that might be a bit overhyped, and Blizzard kinda went a bit with the lazy route, not really revamping as much as they could have. One of the big points of the prequel to the main Midnight story is that Arator is going to the old lands and at one point going to Stratholme. Now, Stratholme, not just from a lore perspective, but gameplay perspective, is a weird location because it has a weird cloud over it that you can't see anything in the city from the sky. And previously, this was right on the very border of Quel'Thalas, and you couldn't actually fly over there because you couldn't fly to Quel'Thalas. Seeing that they now made the continent whole again after 20 years and you can fly over it, it made sense that this border region would get updated, since now you're able to go over Stratholme into Quel'Thalas. Personally, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect that Stratholme would be rebuilt or a new alliance city. That ship has long passed, that isn't happening. But Blizzard did go the super lazy route. They just made a cloud over the city larger, so really a lot of revamp potential has been wasted. However, fortunately, there is actually more going on. In one of the interviews post-Midnight announcement, Blizzard did say that they're very interested in reviewing, in a way revamping some older zones, mainly referring to the northern part of the Eastern Kingdoms. All this has been set up over the past few years, with the Arctic Highlands actually being revamped, Gilneas becoming an alliance area recently, and also some changes to Undercity with clearing the plague, new leadership, new identity, and all the Scarlet Crusade shenanigans that happen surprisingly on multiple occasions. Now, don't get it wrong, they never really said that this is going to get the same treatment as Quel'Thalas, with literally everything being completely rebuilt from scratch, but updates to certain areas will happen, and actually they, in the Midnight Deep Dive and Q&A, gave us some very interesting news that completely slipped under the radar because no one is talking about this. This happened a few days post-interview, where they told us they're interested in revamping old areas, and they said that we can expect minor changes to Forsaken lands, a couple of notable Forsaken characters appearing in Midnight, but it won't be the main focus of the expansion. Now, other than this, we actually have some absolutely crazy new lore with Sylvanas. First of all, right when the expansion was announced, Blizzard told us that Sylvanas is returning, they just outright said her name, but they all kinda kept it mysterious, we didn't really know what this return means, because for example, Artis has returned multiple times over the past few expansions, but it was always a past memory. Then we had the Windrunner Spire instance with all the Windrunner sister story happening there, so people were thinking this was going to be an avatar or some sort of an image of Sylvanas returning, but super minor. But that is actually not the case. We got a full-on questline right at the opening of Midnight and the closure of the War Within. I actually got a full video on this that you can check out from 2 weeks back on the channel, because we have a questline where we go into the Shadowlands, we go into the Maw, and Sylvanas literally single-handedly retcons half the Shadowlands lore, tells us that this is a fake potentially Titan realm, and that the real afterlife exists beyond the Shadowlands. Now, It is a topic that I've covered, but there is a bit of dialogue with Sylvanas talking about carrying out her sentence, how she's essentially pushing the souls forward to the real afterlife, not really granting them peace, and in a way, she kinda confirms her return in the future. She said, now is not the time for me to come back to the world of the living, but essentially leaves it open-ended, as in she plans to come back. Keep in mind, people think Sylvanas is gone, but she actually never died. I mean, she literally just traveled, just like we did, to the Shadowlands, so realistically she can completely return, and with this huge new Shadowlands lore twist, it does start to actually make some sense. Now, why this is relevant is because back in Dragonfight, we had the entire Sylvanas appearance of her talking about how she really did care about the Forsaken. She didn't really mean what she said in the BFA cinematic, and they were not just arrows in her quiver. So, when Blizzard told us that in Midnight, certain Forsaken characters will appear, it's definitely, like, Sylvanas is definitely going to be one of them, but keep in mind, they said characters, not a single character. This opens up the door to quite a bit of lore. First of all, the possible return of something going on with Nathanos, because this guy was literally in the opening cinematic of Shadowlands and he just disappeared and no one has heard of him in like 5 years. Furthermore, the entire light undead Kalia is definitely going to be a big deal in this expansion, especially with the recent evil light lore, light army, and like all these weird light factions. Now, the real interesting topic though is the changes that they had confirmed to the Forsaken lands. Personally, I've been talking about an Undercity revamp for the longest time and they've been setting it up for years. First of all, it was Plague, then it wasn't available for a few years, then it was Cleansed, then back in BFA Undercity was significantly revamped with the upper portion looking like an up-to-date city. Now, a lot changed with the Forsaken. They're no longer freaks, or as they call themselves, Forsaken. I mean, they have no reason to hide in the sewers under the city and live under the ground, so that is why I think that potentially Undercity is going to just become a city. From a completely realistic point of view, I don't think this is going to be a Silvermoon type revamp. I don't think we're going to get a huge giant new capital for the Horde, but it could be updated. I mean, side note, but remember that the new Drana capital has been foreshadowed for years now for the Alliance, so this could be the Alliance equivalent. However, I think a slight revamp to Undercity is definitely possible. By the official Blizzard wording, they said that some Forsaken characters will appear, minor changes will be made to Forsaken lands. This obviously makes sense. I think the entire Sylvanas Forsaken arc is going to be something like 12.1.5 or like a patch of that sort, like a minor patch. A bit of a diversion from the entire Voidlight storyline. Obviously, I mean, this isn't going to be the main focus. We just got the entire absolutely crazy new lore with Harandar being the former Chamber of the World Soul, the entire Light and Void army, Zaldat, all sorts of crazy stuff, cosmological stuff going on with the Titans. So no one is thinking we're going to go in 12.2 to Undercity and just get like a Forsaken storyline, and that's going to be like the finale of Midnight. I think the revamps to Forsaken lands are going to be focused on some changes to Undercity, potentially the Forsaken getting some lands back from the Scarlet Crusade as they keep constantly fighting them for some reason, and maybe some slight changes depending on how the quest lines develop. The role of Sylvanas is going to be weird though. No one really knows what is going on, whether she's going to return to Quotalas, as after all, I mean, she is a former High Elf, she became an undead defending Quotalas, which is under attack once again, or whether she's going to return to the Forsaken, or whether she's just going to be like an independent agent. With the Undead Council, I don't think Sylvanas is going to become the new queen or the old queen that is going to return and they're just going to dismantle the council, but with how they're evolving the lore with the Shadowlands and everything, Sylvanas' redemption arc is actually possible by this point. It could make complete sense. I mean, Sylvanas really got on everyone's nerves back in the Shadowlands, but really with what just happened with the new World Soul lore, Titans being confirmed to actually be the bad guys, the conquerors, and implications that they might have built the Shadowlands, the context to everything that happened entirely changes, like it's not even the same lore. Furthermore, we're definitely going to get Kalia in on this main storyline in Midnight, potentially Nathanos may return, but in what way, shape, or form, it is really hard to say. Thanks for watching. Check out my video on who Azeroth really is and how the Titans literally stole her from Harandar by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Titan lore and Greek mythology that I've recorded live on site in Italy in the mountains by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.